Okay, I'm gonna share my screen and then I'm gonna get started with what is my case study for JNL 345. This is our final project. Um, I'm Vincent Zakian, and this was an ethics class, so we are talking about an ethical scenario today. Um, Political fundraisers. And I'll get to the details in a bit. Um, Political fundraisers turns out a lot of ethical landmines in them. So let's jump right into it. Here's the case. So three former members of the rock band the Eagles. I'm a big fan. That's why I chose this case. Three former members of the rock band the Eagles come to Denver to put on a fundraiser concert for Democratic Senate candidate Ken Salazar. He's there in the cowboy hat, looking very stylish. Um, Kind of a big deal. But especially 2004 Eagles fans hitting middle age, big deal for them in Colorado. Um, Local newspaper Rocky Mountain News, however, does not send reporters to cover the event, which was a call made by the editor, one John Temple. And his reasoning was this: since our long-standing policy precludes all newsroom employees from making political donations, none of us will be able to attend these concerts or any others that occur this political season. The obvious exceptions are reporters, columnists, and photographers covering the concerts both as entertainment events and political stories. A lot of the reporters didn't really like this. They felt like was Temple showing some kind of lack of trust um, in their ability to compartmentalize, pretty much. Um, and so it led to a little backlash, but in the end, what happened happened. The reporters did not go, um, and that was it. So the ethical questions at play are: should journalists be sent to campaign fundraisers in terms of covering it? Should they be allowed to have affiliations politically as attending a campaign fundraiser considered a donation, especially when it's a concert and maybe you're just a fan of the band? And can journalists attend any political event with a lien? So I brought in some experts for this. This is Ethan Stark Miller, um, reporter for a local newspaper, AM New York in New York, senior political reporter. Um, we talked for a while about this. We kind of went around every possible scenario. But his takeaway was, I think if you were going as a member of the press, it would be your obligation to cover the event, which I understand. I agree with. Um, but that's assuming that your editor permits that, essentially. Um, but that was our big takeaway. Then I talked to someone who the viewers will probably be familiar with, Adicio Martinez, BJ professor here at SU. Um, and he was on the other side of it. And he said, I wouldn't put that in the caliber of covering because tremendous stardom or relevancy, not really at play here, not extremely newsworthy. He also said he probably wouldn't be covering most fundraisers or political events, period. So not only are the reporters not going in their free time, but Professor Martinez says there's not a lot of newsworthiness to this at all. So where do we land? The decision falls to me. I've consulted with the experts, and the conclusion I came to, I side with the editor. I side with John Temple. I'm not sending those reporters in. And whether they're reporting on the event or not, I don't want them there. Um, I don't think there's any harm really being caused in this scenario. I do think it's newsworthy for a local Denver newspaper in Rocky Mountain News to cover this because it's a big deal. The Eagles are a big deal, and this is a Senate fundraiser for someone who can have a major impact on the region. But I still am not sending them. And the key issue for me is perceived bias. The SPJ Code of Ethics expressly says avoid conflicts of interest real or perceived, I'm sending those reporters home. If one of those reporters is recognized being at that concert, really in any capacity, it's going to lead to some backlash, I would think. Um, Further down the line at some point. It's different. Honestly, this is a newspaper. If it's broadcast, there is a visual and audio element to this story that makes it a little more newsworthy. But for this, the newsworthiness of it just doesn't quite outweigh the potential ethical landmines, in my opinion, and going off of the SPJ Code of Ethics. So that's all. That's our solution. We saved this 2000 this event from 20 years ago. Thank you for watching. Have a lovely winter break. Um, Goodbye.